A study has found that only 59% of South Africans say they're knowledgeable about menopause. That change of life usually increases the risk of depression and anxiety in women from the ages of 30 or only in the mid-50s or even later. Member of the South African Society of Psychiatrists, Dr. Karen Vukovic, joins us for more. Dr. Vukovic, appreciate your time. Suppose, let's start off with, what is menopause?
Okay, menopause are the physical symptoms as well as mental symptoms that one experiences as a result of cessation of menses in women with uteruses. So it's a transition, a life transition where one's body no longer creates the hormones in a cyclical fashion that it used to. So it's a normal aging process.
Now, it's associated with various physical and mental health challenges. Would you unpack some of these for us, please?
Sure. In terms of the mental, so often physical and mental health symptoms occur as frequently, in terms of 50% of the physical symptoms and 50% of mental symptoms. And certainly a lot of patients that have depression previously are more likely to have the mental symptoms. In other words, mood changes, depressions, anxiety, irritability. But together with the physical symptoms, one has hot flushes, insomnia, difficulty in concentrating, energy, moodiness, tearfulness, irritability. Those are the kind of symptoms that one experiences.
Now, Dr. Vukovic, when a woman's obviously in her 50s, when we see some of these symptoms, we might be able to diagnose that, okay, these are the challenges associated with menopause. But the challenges, menopause can start as early as 30, from what we understand.
Absolutely. It's unusual. Only about 10% of patients begin before the age of 40. And clearly every menopause is different. So if your menopause begins earlier on, certainly it will require more specialized interventions.
Now, there's obviously a stigma around discussing mental health. And this is prevalent in South Africa, as shown by the statistics. Now, how can individuals create a more supportive environment that obviously encourages women to openly discuss their mental health concerns during this period of menopause?
Okay. Well, the first thing is to have some insight into what's happening. And as you know, you mentioned the statistics. So people are, for the most part, aware that this is something they're going to experience. However, they do need to go for help. And there's a lot of help available by approaching clinics, nursing staff. For those that are lucky enough to have more specialist private treatment, go to your GP or gynecologist to discuss what options are open for treatment.
Are there multiple options that are available to individuals? Now,
absolutely.
Sorry, Doc, before you respond to that, you talk about going to see your gynecologist or your physician, and that largely reflects those women that are privileged. What about those women that don't have a gynecologist or a private GP? Are the same services available in clinics, for instance?
Right. I did mention that. Yes. So to approach one's clinic, a nursing sister in one's local clinic, possibly a doctor that they see in clinics. So any medical professional would have some access to suggestions as to how the patients could go forward and get some treatment should they need it.
Now, lifestyle changes are also recommended to support mental well-being. What are some of the
Absolutely.
What are some of the elements of this aspect of dealing with it?
Okay. Well, physical exercises is always great, and that's recommended across the board for anyone, no matter what age they are. So to keep in good physical shape, particularly from a cardiovascular point of view, it raises endorphins, makes one feel a lot better, so it gives one a sense of well-being. Dietary interventions are also useful, possibly something more like a Mediterranean diet, where people eat lots of grains, nuts, fish oils, vegetables, etc., to limit one's intake of meat and high fatty foods, limit alcohol, good sleep habits, sleep about 8 hours a night. One of the problems with menopause is insomnia. And so that's often a red flag that could herald changes about to happen. So sleeping is vitally important, and socializing, connecting with family members, etc. And often they could point out that there may well be a problem. So communication is vital.
But that's kind of ironic, is it not, socializing with people when, on the one hand, you are moody and don't want to be around people?
Right. Well, it's not necessarily as severe as that, but there are often slight nuances, and it usually occurs, very insidiously. So one does need to be self-aware, and often one's family members can point out changes in one's behavior. So interacting is really important.
So here's a question that's probably typical of a man. Is menopause a short period in a woman's life? Does it go away at some point?
Right. Well, it's a transition from one sort of phase of one's life into the next. At some point in time, it will stop. However, it's variable. Everyone has a very different experience, and what necessarily happened for your mother or your friend isn't necessarily going to happen for you. So in terms of it, it does end at some stage. However, as I said, every journey is very different.
So let's talk about depression and anxiety, and these are aspects to menopause, or certainly that period, that potentially you cannot deal with as a family member. What facilities or services are available for people that are suffering from depression or anxiety as a result of menopause?
I'm pleased that you asked that one. That we do have SADAG, which is a wonderful resource that's available to the public, and getting hold of them. And I'm hoping that you're going to have their contact details on your screen. So SADAG is always there to help. I think it's 0800 12 13 14, or else they can be SMS'd on 32312. And we also have a menopause resource website. So there's lots of information available, and certainly there is no lack of assistance.
Final question, and this one is for the men, particularly in Women's Month. What do you encourage the men to do in order to support their partners when it comes to issues around menopause?
Okay. Be mindful that they are going through this life-changing experience. Their partner may be more irritable, less approachable, and possibly to be available to discuss issues and point out where things are possibly going wrong in family, and just to be generally more accommodating should the person have insomnia or feel unwell or lack motivation or energy, and to encourage one's partner and possibly go to a clinic or an available resource nearby that could assist the transition phase.
Dr. Karen Vukovic is the member of the South African Society of Psychiatrists, and unpacking menopause for us in this Women's Month. Appreciate your time this afternoon. And for those that might be suffering from anxiety or depression, you can reach out to SADAG on 0800 12 13 14 or SMS 32312.